Ever since you're a little kid, you always heard about vitamins, and throughout our lives, we use different types of vitamins to stay healthy. One of the most common and famous vitamins you hear about is vitamin D, and you can kind of say that this is one of the most important vitamins. But it's not like all the other vitamins aren't important. We're just saying vitamin D is important and it's kind of misunderstood. Vitamin D is something very simple that could affect your life drastically. Vitamin D is not one thing, it's a series of molecules. And in simple terms, humans get vitamin D from sunlight. When sunlight hits your skin starts to produce it, and it enters your body. You can also get vitamin D from different types of food sources. This vitamin D that enters your system in the beginning is called inactive vitamin D. The inactive vitamin D makes its way all the way to the liver, and inside the liver, it eventually turns into active vitamin D. When a doctor orders a blood test to see how much vitamin D you have in your system, they test the active vitamin D in your bloodstream. The active vitamin D after the liver goes into your kidneys and gets many times more powerful, and then they enter your bloodstream. We keep saying vitamin D this, vitamin D that. What is it actually doing in your body? The number one thing it affects is your bone. Vitamin D allows calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium to enter your bones, and these are the elements that make your bones stronger. Vitamin D also plays an important role into rebuilding your bone structure, or in simple terms, it repairs the bone, just like how your skin repairs after it's cut or it's dry. The most amount of vitamin D you can get is from the sun. The sunlight has two types of radiation, UVA and UVB. It is the UVB part of the light that interacts with your skin and works with the cholesterol under your skin to produce vitamin D. It's not the sunlight itself that's producing it. Your skin gets help from the sunlight to produce it. UVA, on the other hand, is the type of ray that damages the skin. We're not saying UVA is immediately going to destroy your skin, but over time it will. And it's good to know that UVB is blocked when it goes through glass. So if you're behind a window and you think you're absorbing sunlight, you're absorbing the bad kind of sunlight. So that means you have to be under direct sunlight to get the UVB. Just like we said earlier, there are plenty of foods that have a lot of vitamin D in them. Foods like egg yolks, fish like tuna or salmon, and even lamb or cow liver. But you have to know that eating liver is kind of risky and you have to make sure it's a healthy liver. Have you ever heard of rickets? It's a type of sickness that hasn't been around for a while, but back in the day, it was extremely common. The reason rickets isn't around anymore is because in the year 1919, a scientist by the name of Kurt Holchinski realized that rickets is happening because of vitamin D deficiency. When someone with rickets received vitamin D, the rickets pretty much went away. Your skin is pretty much a manufacturer of vitamin D, but the important part is how much vitamin D to produce. The important part is what color your skin is and how much sunlight it receives. A healthy amount of sunlight is healthy for you. If barely any sunlight reaches your skin, you're gonna have vitamin D deficiency. If you have too much sunlight, it could damage your skin and even cause skin cancer. Each person has to figure out how much sunlight is healthy for their skin type, depending on where they live. Genetics could also play a huge role. That's why doctors don't really say how much vitamin D you need or how much vitamin D the other person needs. Some scientists say people that live in the Middle East that are somewhat white but not European white need about 10 minutes of sunlight each day to have a good amount of vitamin D. And it's not like you have to go under the sun with a swimsuit. You could just wear your normal t-shirt and clothes. This is different for white people, especially in Northern Europe. They're much whiter, so that means they have a lot less sunlight. So they need a lot less sunlight to produce vitamin D. In Northern Europe, that's okay. But if they move down somewhere hotter like California, they're gonna need a little bit of sunlight because they could get sunburned very easily. And this could be the other way around. A darker skinned fellow, if they go to Northern Europe, they're gonna need to stay in the sunlight a lot longer than they do near the equator. As you know, the people that live in Africa have darker skins, And the main reason for this is vitamin D. In simple terms, over thousands of years of sunlight made this skin go through evolution. Instead of getting cancer, it got darker and darker, so they absorb a lot less sunlight. And the darker tone is because of melanin. Another thing that's interesting is that if you compare an African skin tone compared to a whiter skin tone, you realize that it's a lot more durable, or should I say resistant. Even when they get older, it's hard for them to crack. If you see an African person or an African descendant that's living in Europe or America, you realize that even when they're older, their skin is a lot more smooth than a lighter skinned person. So the melanin not only doesn't allow more vitamin D to be absorbed, it also makes it more resistant into cracking and getting damaged. Like for example, if an African person lives in France, the sunlight is not enough in this part of the world. They either have to stay under the sun for a longer period of time or simply take vitamin D. Scientists have realized an African living in France needs to stay in the sun 10 times as long as a native French person. So if an African person lives in Sweden, for example, that's no problem. They can just take the vitamin D and not worry about the sun anymore. What does vitamin D deficiency feel like? Your bones hurt, you suffer a lot of muscle spasms. It also makes your muscle hurt and get weaker and feel more fatigued. You get very tired easily, and even though you have nothing to worry about, it causes anxiety and even depression. Vitamin D deficiency has a lot of flaws. It could even make your hair fall out, make your bones weaker, make your legs and arms fall asleep. And one of the worst things, kind of like rickets, is that it makes your bones softer and even your spine could get out of alignment. So now we realize that vitamin D is crucial for humans. But just like anything, too much of it is bad for you too. Too much vitamin D in your system is actually toxic and it could very easily make you sick. Also, if you plan on using vitamin D supplements, make sure you get a blood test to see you have low vitamin D, because there's no reason to take it for no reason. If you have these signs that we just told you, there's a high chance that you have vitamin D deficiency. So talk to your doctor, get a blood test, and see if you actually have low vitamin D, because it could very easily be fixed. Never give vitamin D supplements without the help of a doctor, because it could be toxic for kids. We hope you found the information in this video useful, and we wish you all the very best.